Activation code required. Access granted. Warning. Evacuation sequence activated.
We're back. Welcome to the bunker.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the S-4 Paranormal Bunker. Tonight we're going to be talking about eclipses. On the show tonight we have Rick Pursley, Rosella C. Rowe, and Nikki Jacobs, and me and John.
Yep.
Unfortunately Eric is out sick, so he will not be on tonight. How you guys all doing?
Oh, spectacular.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'm morning.
That sounded so sincere, Rick.
Yeah. We are officially now RV owners as far as what it's legally titled in our name. We got that done this afternoon, so we've been having anxiety / regular, just normal panic attacks about, oh my God, what have we done? But yeah.
Well, at least you didn't buy a boat.
Well, no, I didn't buy a boat.
You know what I mean?
True.
Like,
oh yeah, I did
Right.
consider it at one point. But everything sinks that I get on. So,
well, do you know what boat stands for?
I used to know this. Go
Bust
ahead.
out another 1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's about right with boats.
Yeah.
I was given one years ago.
Friend, we have a band. We have one boat, but we made it a land boat.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we built a playground over top of it.
It's a pretty good boat.
Well-intentioned family members mean well, however, they're expensive little fun toys, boats are.
Yeah, that's why they make better playgrounds than they do anything else, from
Right.
what I've heard.
Friend, so Rosella, you had a pretty good view on Monday, eh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Friend,
Yeah.
ours here was great.
Oh, yeah.
My parents asked me about it, and I told them, imagine you have a 5-gallon bucket of gray paint, and then add 1 teaspoon of black paint.
It was beautiful.
That's what happened.
About right. We had clouds down here.
Yeah, like, you couldn't see crap. And, like, I was out during it, and it didn't change hardly.
Yeah, I was outside too during it. It just slightly got dimmer.
But, like, I really like the pictures you showed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, honestly, it was, I mean, it really was an incredible lifetime experience that I'll never forget. Honestly, I was really thinking I wanted it over with from all the hell that I've gone through, like, way before. I really hated all of the people's, like, emotions, reactions. And then the day came and we were all sitting outside, and it was like the most peaceful, natural nature peace that you've ever heard experienced. It's insane. I mean, like, I can only compare it to, like, when the spirits talk to me about heaven. And it just, like, was peace and comfort just, like, washed over you. And it was really weird because as it was happening, your body, like, even beforehand, like, I went inside to grab something off of my island really quick. And inside my house is kind of dark anyway. But I had this like big fan window, and you can kind of you could tell that something was so different. Because I remember reaching for something on my island, and I'm like, what is wrong? Like, oh, it's darker. And you didn't really realize it. And then you go outside, and it got full blown. Like, my whole backyard got dark. Like it was, you're sitting around the fire pit, really late at night, and you're waiting for the stars to come out in the summer. It was just really dark. And you could see, like, kind of like a glow in the trees in the back of, like, my yard. So I took videos and like lots of pictures, and everybody was saying my pictures were kind of the best. I don't know how, but it was really amazing. I had like a whole party in my backyard of my neighbors, friends, people just dropping by. So I'm like, awesome. Okay. Yeah, and you could hear my other neighbors like, yay, when it was starting to do it. So it was really neat, but all the animals went silent. Like, all the animals silent. And the animals started to come out to kind of like, before dusk, starting to eat. And we have a ton of bunnies in the backyard. So all the bunnies were like standing up on their like back hind legs. Like, what is happening? It was really funny. So this is a very interesting experience. I'm glad that I got to see it, because I never really would have thought it was a big deal, because I always wanted everything, all the energies over with. So it's kind of cool. But I don't know if you guys felt like kind of total like crap the next day, because I sure did.
So that morning, me and Kayla left the house at 3 a.m. And on a highway that we don't actually see that many wildlife, because it's right up against a river and a mountain. It's right in between them. Okay. So Nikki, South Skagit, friend, we saw 3 deer in places they shouldn't have been.
Oh.
Did you really?
Yeah.
They were prepared.
And they acted real weird. Friend. And then Kayla watched a possum on the side of the road, and it hissed at her as we drove by.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah, the entire trip was just a little creepy, and then
they were preparing for the 7 trumpets to be blown.
Oh my gosh.
Because the end is near.
Don't even go there, friend.
Back in the day, I used to live right next to the dike of the Skagit River. I mean, like, the building that I lived in was about 30 feet from the dike. And, yeah, all kinds of animals, and they're usually, other than the cows or the horses, everything else is usually pretty hidden during the daytime.
Yeah.
They don't want to come out, which is understandable. I mean, but wow. Interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird moment to have there, and then the rest of the day just went by normally. We looked for the eclipse, but we didn't actually start looking up till it was at totality, so we didn't really notice anything. And then nothing felt off. Like, it was fine. And Rosella, I didn't feel any, I didn't feel any worse on Tuesday than normal.
Okay. Nikki made it.
I felt it. And part of that, okay, so here's the other side to this. Right after the eclipse, and I mean, like, within a few hours afterwards, this, not circadian, Schumann resonance went off the charts. So much so that the woman that I follow on Facebook, who follows the Russian science something or other on the Schumann, because they're watching certain things from their satellites, it was off the charts. It was so high that it literally blacked everything out. And then the funny thing is a couple hours after the blackness, I checked back, and it was stark white. And the only time that those two things occur, in my opinion, when I'm not a professional by any stretch of the imagination, but from what I remember of other eclipses, this is kind of a normal thing. So do your research on that. But yeah, anybody who has any kind of abilities, the ones that, at least the ones that I'd talked with over the, well, some I talked with, brief messages here and there in different chats or different text messages. Everybody was talking about it. They were talking about how off they felt. So whether you're psychic or whether you're empathic or different levels of it, everybody felt it. And that surprised me, actually. I mean, it shouldn't, but it did.
Well, I even had like the same thing. My friends were texting me, like my friend I woke up in the morning to her being extremely emotional and like agitated. It was kind of shocking because she's a person who kind of brings me around if I'm going through, like I've kind of hit a wall, mostly with everybody else's stuff that I'm taking on. And she was like, I need you now. And I'm like, this is a role reversal. And I felt like I couldn't even like really function. Like I had brain fog. I just felt like almost like I was coming down with the flu. It didn't make any sense. And I'm like, maybe it's because I sat outside and my allergies are terrible. But then even today, got up, still felt bad. I finally kind of came out of it around, I'd say like 11 a.m. But it took me all morning. It was terrible. And other people too. Just today I went to go get this detox thing. I've been doing ionic detoxes. It's kind of neat. And today I'm like, I can't do it. Like something is really wrong. And I jumped in the car and I went, not even having an appointment. The women were so kind. They fit me in. They were so sweet. And they were like, have you been feeling really bad? And I said, hell yeah. And they're like, yeah, for me it started today. But everybody's extremely high emotional, very... And we did go into retrograde, so kind of want to note, it's like, what is it? Because is it the eclipse or is it retrograde? And I will say, too, unfortunately, my friend died yesterday. So, like, the day after the eclipse. So, he was living on bond.
Yep.
Thank you. He was really a sweet, sweet, sweet guy. So that has been hard on me too. So it's like I think I almost thought maybe I felt it before and really knew, but is it was like the eclipse. You know, he's kind of labeling it.
Well, one of the things that you talked about is the ionic methods of are very useful. In the 90s, my naturopath did that with me when I was going through aluminum toxicity, and it made...
Oh, yeah.
Those are incredible things to do regarding healthcare. The other one to look into is lion's mane mushrooms.
I actually started taking it.
Yeah, they work wonders on the brain. They really help clear that brain fog. There's a bunch of other products out there that were made public in the 90s, and then certain other companies have gone on to produce similar ones, and all I can think of is Focus Factor right now. But there is a better product than Focus Factor that I've come to find out. But I'm so sensitive, I can only take about a quarter of a capsule if I need it, because it really perks up the brain. They have a doctor involved and are making the product, and it's changed over time. So there are things to help clear brain fog, even if it's on a temporary basis.
Yeah, I started taking this, it's called, I think, Mushroom Complex or something, and oddly enough, this is so funny. I mean, I know we've discussed the Dollar Tree on here. I found it at the Dollar Tree. I was like looking around and stuff. I'm like, okay, so I was just one day and wanted zinc because of my constant battle with like my allergy sickness. And I'm like, maybe this will help. And I found that it was like, you know, of course now it's $1.25, not a whole dollar, but it was like $5 or something for me to get like the whole month or something. Cause you know, if we have like 5 weeks in it, but it was it wasn't bad. So I actually got a whole other bottle and then filled up, and they're gummies too, but you take like 2 a day, and I filled up a whole bottle of that, so I didn't have to keep going back to the store and like living off these little packages because it comes in like 14-day supplies. It's totally stupid, but worth the
Yeah,
money.
Yeah.
So
Be careful.
nothing, $5.
Countries. Be careful with what countries they come from. Just an FYI.
Yeah, that's true. I should check.
So-
I can't remember what it said. I remember looking at it, but I forget now what it said.
Just be careful. And none of this is medical advice. This is all things that we've experienced and have tried for ourselves. So,
Yeah, supplements. I'm a big supplement person.
Yeah, I am too. Supplements, herbs, and I used to grow my own herbs and make my own recipes and all of that. And I used to have doctors, naturopathic doctors go, "Oh, you need to put this into production." Other people, I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Do you know how much that costs?" I do.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. So,
I know. I'm like, oh god. I will say though, since I've been on this mushroom thing, I feel like the focus has gotten better. But
Yes.
yeah, like the day after that eclipse, it was like I couldn't do anything. 11 a.m. it finally hit today, and I felt normal. I have been in and out of bed, and it's terrible. I went to do the ionic thing, and they actually took a ton of metals out of me. Metals. They said
yeah,
that
that's
was
normal.
crazy. I'm like, ah! So I was kind of like, now I have more questions.
There's a bunch of different things health-wise that people need to do their research into. Do your research. Talk to quality medical about it.
Well, do you know, like, if you take zinc or something, will that put the metal in you? Like, that kind of freaked me out. Okay.
No. Not
Because I was like, are my
but
supplements?
but like I said, I'm not a doctor, and you got to do your own research.
Yeah. No,
But we can talk off. We can talk privately off air more about that. But yeah.
Yeah.
And there are ways to check and have your doctor check all the medical stuff and all of that. So anyway.
Did you guys hear Google's best statistic on Monday?
No.
Searches for why do my eyes hurt went up by 90%.
Oh my god.
For F's sake. Seriously?
Oh
That
my
was
god.
Pulling stupidity.
There's so many videos of like young kids just looking up at the sun.
Wow. And what John just
That's
said,
sad.
the young kids, but the problem is it's not just young kids.
Yeah, it's some dumb adults.
Well, half of these guys are using welding masks.
Yeah.
Do you know why we didn't do that, John?
Yeah. A big.
My welding mask has a 12 phase lens.
Yep.
What was required for this Eclipse was a 14 phase. Most welding helmets do not go to that level.
Yeah.
So if you only used, so if you only used a regular welding helmet, which is normally a 10 or a 12 phase,
it would still hurt your eyes.
Oh yeah,
like majorly.
So like it wasn't just kids; it's full-grown adults that are supposed to be smarter than this.
Yeah, but it is your generation.
No. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Well,
it's the old folks.
Friend.
What
did you say?
You old
husband's
folks.
father gave him welding glass to look through. I never heard of that, but then my friend who came, his name is Rick, he came and he was like telling me about smoking the glass of welding glass to make it put the particle on it or whatever so it would be darker. And I had never heard of that in my life. So I was like, that's crazy.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
You don't get taught this stuff like, hey, the history of the eclipse and people burning their eyes out, in class. Cool.
Yeah.
I do like the one thing.
Wait. We had that conversation in high school, so I'm a different generation.
One lady.
We had that. As a Gen X, we had that. That's not time now.
It's not going to help for 20 years, but one lady showed how you can use a colander. As long as you're... No, it actually worked.
Yeah.
You don't actually get to look. You hold your colander towards the ground and away from your body, and the reflections it makes on the ground, you can actually see the eclipse go in the little holes.
Yeah, if you don't have enough money for the sun, you can always use a colander.
Yeah, it is actually a really neat thing to see.
Yep. That was actually...
I couldn't believe it.
Going around on TikTok.
Yeah.
Wow, I've never heard it. Wow.
Yeah, like in every little hole, as she was doing her video, you could see the sun or the moon going across. And each hole was starting to disappear.
Yeah.
Well, in my time, they were talking about boxes, using boxes and pinhole, like essentially making pinhole cameras.
Yeah.
To watch it.
And a lot of people did do that this time, too. Supposedly that wasn't the healthiest thing, but...
Yeah.
Well, no, you're not looking through it. You're looking at it on the ground or on a piece of paper ahead of the box.
And there was a lot of people using the cereal box method.
But that's the problem, Nikki. We are in the time of half-assed Google searches. So,
yes, I know.
Do you know how many I watched where they just made a hole on one side and put the pinhole on the other side and then looked directly at the sun through the pinhole?
Oh my god!
Wow.
People rock.
What a beautiful use of human knowledge. Really see the innovations.
My mother had a good phrase, mental morons. She used to call people mental morons when they did ridiculous things.
It's a form of deliberate, it starts with the letter I.
Idiocy?
I was just going to say.
Well, it's not, it's a nicer way to say it.
My dad has always said you can't fix stupid.
Yeah, that's why I never fixed
Oh,
you.
that is so
Right.
true.
John, you might want to look up why your eyes hurt.
Hey, my eyes do not hurt.
Oh, they're going to.
Watch out.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else was the topic?
Well, so, like, did anyone hear about anything crazy happening across the United States? Because, like, I don't imagine anything would happen across the world.
No, not really. I just heard that there's theories of the seven trumpets going around.
Yeah, there was lots of theories.
Apocalypse.
I'm wondering if anything actually happened.
So what are you talking about, this trumpets thing? I don't know. I don't know what you're saying.
The seven trumpets to start the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
Okay.
I think
Is
it's
that what he's talking about? Or, alright.
I believe it's a Christian thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But
yeah.
Yeah, it's none of that. I hadn't heard of any trumpet.
But I'm wondering, even like
I heard silence.
weird,
Yeah, a lot of quiet.
like not even weird sounds. But I'm wondering about like weird events.
I just heard animals
the nation.
just acted weirdly.
The only thing that I heard about was how bad the traffic was, and how severe that got. So much so that one governor of a state classified an emergency because the traffic was so bad in his state, and they went, "Yeah, well, hello." Look at what's taking place. I mean, this is what happened in Y2K. So 1999 into the year 2000, the hype for these kind of events are exponential. And people go off their freaking mind doing conspiracy theories, doing all sorts of crap, and then nothing comes of it. And, I understand how big of an event this is. What I would be fascinated, and I haven't heard what any results were, but what I would be fascinated by is what happened with CERN which is what we talked about last week, and what happened with NASA and was it SpaceX
Right.
who launched? I think it was SpaceX who launched rockets, and so did NASA, but NASA was doing it for a different reason. I would be fascinated as to what those kind of things, those kind of events, what the results were.
Well, NASA has sent up a plane to shoot pictures of it, but then has not released the pictures. Isn't that odd?
The way NASA's been the last 10, 20 years, not really. I do not have...
They would rush that out, at least.
Well,
At least
they did release a picture from the ISS as it flew over, because it flew over through the eclipse.
Okay.
And the picture's freaking amazing. It's kind of foreboding and everything, because it's just a big dark cloud in the middle of America when they took the picture.
Oh, that's right.
Elon...
ISS. There's a picture from the ISS. Yeah.
And Elon did the same thing from one of the Starlink. I can try and find it, yes.
Yeah, because that's really... I had not seen that. Now, I saw a lot of people faking pictures. I don't know if you guys saw that on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody had faked one.
I saw a few fake pictures. All on
It's insane.
TikTok and Snapchat.
Yeah, I saw one of... it was... The guy did a recreation, and all he did was he had himself standing in front of the sun, and he held a frying pan and kind of waved it over the sun slowly. Like, there is lots of that kind of stuff going around, which is hilarious to me. Like, because, like, yeah, in Washington, we didn't get to see anything, so, like, thanks for helping out, bro.
Crazy shit. And supposedly there were supposed to be all kinds of noises, other sounds going on during the eclipse and before and after. And I haven't heard anything about any of that, and I find that a little odd. Anybody else find that odd?
That's
a little bit.
Odd. I mean, yeah, like it was quiet here. Even the wildlife like stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, pin drop.
The last eclipse back in 2017, I went out and just stood there. I didn't look up at it, thankfully, because I was smart enough to not burn my eyes. But I did go out outside, and it's an odd calm. It's like the birds and all the animals think it's nighttime, I guess, and so it just gets super dead quiet. It's really eerie.
Yeah.
And it looks like when you watch a bad movie from the 80s or something. They're trying instead of shooting at night, they just put a blue filter over the camera, so it looks sort of like it's dark. So yeah, that was about what it looked like. It looked like a bad, like 80s horror movie.
I wonder what okay, this is going to sound odd, but I wonder what the bats would happen with the bats, because they're on echolocation. Or what about the whales? I mean, what kind of you've got a specific kind of sonar that they do. So I'm curious as to what's going to be coming in the next anywhere from a few days to the next many months, or even to the next few years, as to what if they were doing any studies, because that would be very telling. But then you've got CERN and the BS that they're doing, and it makes you question just exactly what is affecting it. If CERN wasn't doing stuff, then I wouldn't call into question any studies, but since they are, I would definitely call it into question.
Well, like I said too, it's like the bunnies in my backyard. I have like a lot of rabbits that just live there, and you could see them because they're really big this year now. and just sitting up like on their hind legs and looking dumbfounded. Like, what? What's going on? What? And it was really interesting to see how many of them came out and were doing that. So, and that was probably about like, I'd say like 3-ish. Like, I think when it finally did it, it was like 3 something. And time seemed to be so fast. Like during it, honestly, you think it's taking forever, and it was quick. Like for the whole eclipse.
Priscilla, did you have any, even though with what you experienced, did you have the spirits on the other side go quiet with you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did. They went really quiet with me. And then before and after, it was not so quiet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
do you mean like psychically?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, psychically, almost dead silent.
That's because they were all busy watching the eclipse, guys. Come on.
Maybe they're all standing with us watching it. I don't know. It's funny. Yeah, because I did notice the peace and the chatter, which I don't get much, like stalking. So, like, it was just like, whoa, what the hell? Yeah, no.
They don't shut up, man.
No.
And, well, it's interesting because the time that they got really quiet with me was last week because I was so sick last week. And when I got really sick, everything got real quiet. And I'm like, okay, guys, I know you're here. And then I'd have... I'd walk into my bathroom, and it was like somebody was flipping the light switch going up and down, and I'd go, yes, I know you're here, and yes, thank you for this, this, and this, and my lights would flash. And I mean, this is not normal in my house. The only time my lights flash is either a power outage or a spirit on the other side getting my attention. And so... in a very specific way. It's not even they'll try to mess with my TV. That's a whole different subject. But I was curious if you experienced the silence, because I didn't make a correlation until just this second. I was like, wait a minute, it went silent.
Well, my friends that were here too, they're mediums as well, and they're like, did you experience the silence? And I'm like, yeah. It was really interesting. But somebody had even asked me that too, like at the detox place. They're like, well, since you talked to the spirits all day, how did they react? And I was like, actually, yeah, I didn't think about it really until right now. That somebody else was asking me who didn't have gifts. And I'm like, it was quiet. She goes, really? I'm like, no, it was really quiet. It was odd. I remember feeling my whole body going, what is happening? Like, and my friend who stood beside me, who had no gifts too, and my neighbor, and she's like, it's like my body keeps intuitionally telling me something is wrong. And she said that like 4 times. And yeah, like I said, when I was in there, like in the house, just grabbing an item really quick right before it happened, my body was like, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And then looking at those bunnies kind of perched up like that, they were like, something's wrong. It was really strange, but it also feel like something was like really totally different, distracting, off, but peaceful at the same time. And that's the only way I can really describe it. And it sounds like a mess, but it really was like that. It's very strange because I'm like, I'm supposed to welcome this, but I like love it as much as I almost feel like I want to jump out of my own skin because I think of the quiet. I didn't know really how to handle that quiet as well because they're always talking at me. I have bossy angels. They tell me what to do constantly.
Yeah, I completely get that one. The only time that I've ever had true peace and absolute silence was when I had that my very first experience with the government assets, and I literally because I was under attack. I was literally they were attacking me. I was under attack, and I came into my living room and I did a burst of energy a very, very specific way, and I blew everything out of here. I mean, it didn't just hit my apartment. It radiated through the entire. I didn't know it was that strong, but it literally. I got told later that it literally blew everything not only off the property, but a bit of a distance around the property. And they were like, "Please don't do that again," because I had 2.5 days of silence, and by the last half of the going into the third day, they were like, "Is she safe to be around again?" But it was the only time I was like, "Is this what it's like for everybody else?" It's actually quiet. I mean, like, I didn't feel any spirits. I didn't have spirit guides around me. The angels were off I knew the angels were off the property, but nobody was coming onto this. I mean, and it was because of being under attack, and I literally had no idea how strong I was and am. And that's the only time I've ever had that kind of quiet. This time, it was, I knew that they were around, but they were deadly quiet, and it was only for about 2 minutes of the, it wasn't the 4 minutes, 37 seconds, or whatever the hell it was, of the solar eclipse. It was literally only 2 minutes, and I'm like, oh, this is mind-bendingly weird. And I did have the foggy mind, but it didn't last for very long. Mostly because I do regular, like lion's mane mushrooms and turkey tail mushrooms and a number of other supplements, and so I didn't have that, although I was extremely exhausted in my body, and I was like, okay, now that's not normal. What the hell is that coming from? And I correlated it back.
Yes, severe exhaustion. Yeah. Holy God.
Yeah, and I know a number of other folks that are like that too. So one of the things that the other side did tell me is that we all need to redo our chakra systems, and to do that is like Epsom. If you can't put your feet in the ocean, because it needs to be ocean water.
Now I put mine in Himalayan salt today.
Yeah, so. I got told to do, for all those that are affected, I got told, look, you got to be doing the Epsom salts on the feet for at least 20 minutes, and I'm like, okay. So I'll do the sea salt periodically, but I can't do it all the time because, if you've got high blood pressure, you can't be doing that kind of stuff. Found out from the cardiologist regarding my mom all those years ago when she had her stuff. So, because I'm
trying to do less salt, so it's kind of hard for people who are out there, too. Yeah, like detoxing that chakra, that's important.
Well, and the other thing is, too, is if you can't do that, put your feet on on grass or on dirt, not on cement. Needs to be on regular ground that's not covered over by some kind of something. So, like a cement or a rubber or whatever is being poured over the top of the earth. But, because basically what you do is you reground yourself. And once you reground yourself, even with it being still cold out, I would wear socks. I can't do, because if you've got problems with your toes and stuff like that, I'd just put a pair of socks on and go out and do it that way. So,
wow, this is shocking because what they kept telling me today all day was root yourself, ground yourself, root yourself. Yes. And that was one of the messages I put out on my Readings by Rosella page. I'm like, everybody, this is really important. They've told me 4 times, and this means something that I don't know yet. And now, Nikki, you just helped me out because I'm like, why am I supposed to do this? Why am I supposed to tell everybody to do this?
So
it has to be done to reground your body, your soul, and your chakra system. And if you can reground yourself and then go in and do like an Epsom split bath with your feet for about 20, well, what I was told by the other side was 20 minutes. They specifically told me about the Epsom salt, that it will help your chakra system.
That's awesome.
So,
Yeah. No wonder I felt the urge to detox today. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well-
go ahead.
while you guys were talking, just sitting here thinking, friend,
Okay.
I did have
no.
something weird with my body.
What? What happened? Ooh, I want to know.
So I haven't had problems with my sciatic nerve for 10 freaking years. All of a sudden, Monday, it went haywire.
Yeah.
I haven't slept in my bed in 3 days or 2 days because I can't.
So
Oh, wow.
it's affected. Okay, so that's a nervous system. If it's affecting that low, then okay, this is okay. I can't say that's what it is. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. Do your research. But with me, I'm going to use me as the example. What I have learned is that when that happens with me, it's affecting my nervous system. And in order to redo the nervous system, I have to find some singing bowls that deal with pain levels or anti-anxiety. And you have to find the right ones. And I know you may not do this cold, but it will help to, or even humming, like a low hum. If you hum, it affects what I had a doctor tell me. It literally affects the vagal nerve, and it will calm your nervous system down. And he was right, because it's one of the things that I do to help my body when it goes through that kind of pain. And it literally calms my nervous system down, and it calms my tailbone, and the amount, or the, not just the amount, the intensity of pain that I go through, and the frequency of that pain, because pain has a frequency. And I actually, for years, I didn't believe that. I thought, oh, that's just bullshit. No, I have come to learn the hard way. There's a frequency to it. And if you can alter that frequency, it literally makes a big difference on the body.
So it's good now.
At least, good.
I figured out what to do.
Good.
For me, I worked on my truck, and
There you go.
well, no, like, 'cause so I've had an issue with a door since I got the truck. Since the kids' grandparents have owned the truck,
Yeah.
this door hasn't opened. And about 3 weeks ago, I got mad at the truck because the door wouldn't open, and so I ripped the door off. And the hinges were still on, but I ripped the latch so hard that I broke the latch.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Friend. So I had to find a new, I had to find a new latch, which it's a 93 Ford, so it's pretty hard in and of itself.
Yep.
Friend, was able to find one, and stupid Amazon sent me the wrong part.
It's not Amazon's fault. It is your own old fault, okay? You ordered the wrong side.
No, fuck that. Our technology is so advanced, Amazon should know what I'm fucking thinking, not what I'm doing.
It's your own fault. You ordered the wrong side of the door.
Just an FYI, what Cole is referring to, whether he knows it or not, is called voice-to-skull technology. Do your
Yeah.
research.
Yeah. No, damn right.
It's
So like,
real.
so the chip in the
It's
monkey's brain.
freaking real.
Yeah.
Yeah, go get that then.
Amazon's a goddamn monkey. They should know what I'm fucking doing.
Monkeys don't know what they're doing
You
half the
know I'm
time.
gonna do shit at the same time, right?
Absolutely. But, like, no.
Okay.
So, the part showed up Tuesday afternoon.
It is real. Voice to skull is real.
And I started putting it in. As soon as I started putting it in, after walking to the truck and almost dying just from walking, friend, the pain started to ease.
Yeah.
I got it in. I got it in. Yes, last night. I finished putting on the door panel today, and the pain was gone. Nothing
Yeah.
left. And I do view it as a type of grounding.
Yeah. Well, not only that, you're doing specific kinds of movement, and you're easing the anxiety that comes
Yeah.
with that kind of pain.
Yeah.
And by doing that, it shifts the frequency of pain.
But one thing I will say, Nikki, on what you said about like having some people having trouble grounding,
Yeah.
there is one thing you can do, and a lot of people won't realize this is, if you walk into Harbor Freight, Home Depot, any of those stores, you can buy a long copper tube for
Yes.
$5. You pump it into the earth about half a foot, and you hold it. It will help you ground.
Okay, Cole is exactly right, folks. I used to garden a lot, and one of the things that I used to do was wind my indoor plants, not my outdoor ones, but my indoor ones, with copper wire. Heavy-duty pipe is basically, it was copper tubing. And when you cut it down and wind it around the plant and put it into the pot, you will actually bring a better frequency and your plants will love you. Now, when doing it outside, you can actually, and this is one of the reasons why they've taken copper away out of so many different things now, because copper affects our body and our frequency level, and it literally can help to shift frequencies in our body. Like I say, do your research.
Yep.
Find it on your own.
Another
but
one
he's
for...
exactly right. It is a great way. All you have to do is have the palms of your hands on that tube, one above and one below on the pipe, and literally hold on to it. As long as it's in the ground, you can that is a really excellent way to ground yourself.
Another thing for planting is if you're planting a new tree, take 5 non-galvanized nails.
Yes.
And plug them into the earth around the tree. About 6 inches away from the tree, from the root.
Railroad spikes will do that too for not only trees, but I can't think of hydrangeas. Thank you, whoever gave me that.
The conductivity pulls energy from the earth towards the tree, as well as the iron pulls water.
Yes. Now, however, when you do that with certain plants, copper is not an issue, but when you use iron, watch out, because they don't like that. It really disrupts them, and they get a little pissy about it. So,
Nikki,
just
you
an
know
FYI,
how I feel about this. You know how I feel about this. Fuck the Fae.
So wonderful to me. I have not had, well, I can't say I haven't had a bad experience. I've had one that was like, they were extremely pissy with me because I was walking on top of their homes. Well, hello, who wouldn't be pissy with a giant walking on top of their homes?
Japan?
But, yeah.
Japan didn't care.
Yeah, they took it like a champ.
All the others I've experienced have been just wonderful, and they've been very gracious with me. So,
so did Italy.
So when you use
Italy's
iron
Coliseum
and certain metals, they don't like to be around it. So, just an FYI.
Well, now the copper, the thing is, what all of you have been talking about, they've been selling this stuff for years. Athletes have been using it to swear by. They put the copper in the braces and the sleeves that go on your arms or elbows.
Yep.
Or
I've got some of those.
Yeah, and they all swear by it. And people will tell you, oh, that's just quackery. Well, it's not quackery if it works and people believe it works. Then even if it isn't quote unquote working, at least your brain has convinced yourself that it's working, so that's still,
placebo effect.
Yeah, it's the placebo effect. It's also the psychological factor. So, I mean, but when you get something that truly works, you haven't believed in it before, but you're desperate and you're going to try anything.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely appalled that it works. It makes a heck of an impression. I was like, I kind of called BS on the copper thing with plants until I tried it firsthand, and I went, oh
Yep.
my God, this is incredible. Now, with certain plants, you've got to be careful, and you can't do that. With certain cactuses, you've got to be really careful. They are, their roots are like anal retentive about what they have around them. So you got to be real careful with certain plants. But with foods that you grow, and herbs that you grow, oh yeah, wonderful. What are you laughing at? I can hear you through my headphones. What the hell is so funny?
No, well, okay. So when he said braces,
Yeah.
all I imagined was like a mouthful of copper. Like,
Oh,
I was like, and I've had
mercury.
I've had to put a pipe in my mouth because I didn't have an extra hand, and I was just thinking about that taste the entire time you're growing through your teenage years, and we're like, ugh.
Exactly.
But like one good plant for the copper is tomatoes.
Oh,
Tomato,
God. Yeah, you're right.
because it also
Right.
changes the taste a little bit, and they do taste better. Huh?
Bell peppers, tomatoes. There's a few others that are really good with it.
Yeah, I bet you bell peppers it would make sweeter.
Yeah. Never really thought. Well, yeah, it can. It didn't really think too much about it, but yeah.
When,
You want to know about gardening?
you know, it's stupid how much I actually know about that crap for never having done it. Like, right.
I've done it all my life, so So, what are the world scares that everybody's heard about?
So,
Yeah.
I think I need clarification on that because Eric wasn't real clear when he said that one last week.
Well,
What do you guys think we should be talking about there?
Well, it could be. Well, I don't know about what we should be talking about. There's so many things that pop into my mind about it, such as you got the global warming factor. You've got things that I just got questioned about because I posted something about the United States Air Force getting caught by this guy who was videotaping a plane spraying overhead. And I had a family member say, why do you call it spraying? And I'm like, did you not see the video? And so you've got that kind of weather shift and change. Very, very well documented kind of things. There are possible war issues. There are, like, I know Eric's not here, and he really wanted to talk about the trumpets and the different sounds. There are different sounds that are going on globally. I know that there's a lot of sounds that are being done across the United States, and people are going, what the hell is this sound? Families, there are videos where there's families that the person is videotaping some kind of family event, and they look up in the sky and they're hearing weird sounds coming and strange lights happening at the same time. And even you can hear the kids in the background saying, Mommy, what is that? What is that in the clouds? And, the mom pans back, or the dad pans back to the kid and then goes back to the sky, and here you have this sound in the sky. And so there's all kinds of weird worldwide events that are taking place that are not being talked about in the news at all.
Huh.
So I find that fascinating, and I'm curious as to you can pick a subject. There are so many of them, including large flying animals that have not been seen before. Like, what is that? Is it a pterodactyl? What the hell is it? And they're getting shadows in the pictures, I mean, like, not the full, because the picture is so far away. And if you blow it up, the grain pops really, really bad.
Yeah.
And anybody in photography knows that when you have grain pop that is that bad, it literally ends up creating a shadow effect where you're not seeing clearly of whatever the item is that was at such a long distance. So I'm just curious as to if there's anything that other folks, and I'm literally being told to talk about Brazil, and I don't know why.
Brazil. Oh.
Brazil. So I saw something on Facebook about Brazil that they were having issues with earthquakes recently.
Yeah.
There are a ton of earthquake posts going around. Yeah.
Well,
in New
that's
York,
because
and that.
there's been a lot of earthquakes in the United States in very unusual locations, and there's more going to come after this.
Yeah,
But-
it's in New York. Isn't that's like very unusual, right?
Yeah, New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts got hit. They all felt it. It was a what
Wow.
was it?
4.8.
Yeah, they originally posted it as a 5, and then they downgraded it to a 4.8. And there were some in some other locations as well in the United States that are not usual for. I was going to say Ohio. That is not what I mean.
You're just loving Ohio today. Everyone's from Ohio.
So anyway, it's just I don't know what's going on with the Brazil thing. I know that they get quite a lot of. They've had a lot of like 2.5s, 2.8s on up into the 4 region. There's been a few 6 point somethings. I want to say upper 6s. Like upper middle 6s. Do your research. There's a number of folks. And here's the other thing. And this might get me, or hopefully not us, into trouble, but if you're looking into the earthquake information, do your research on, and I don't remember the name of what it's exactly called, but when you've got an earthquake on one side of the globe and look at the exact opposite side of the globe, and anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks later, you may put the may or could have an earthquake on the other side of the earth. There's a specific terminology for that. Look into that. I know that the USGS totally disagrees with those claims, but hello, it's factual. It literally has been factual and well documented by a lot of people.
But okay,
whether
but
they want to agree with it or not.
I think we have to admit that, like the USGS, the United States government, I honestly think they have to disagree with some of this stuff. Because, Nikki, we look at this stuff and we see it. But at the same time, are you still going to walk out your door tomorrow?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you have no choice.
Okay.
No, you have a choice.
Over half of America, yeah.
What kind of?
Friend, over half of America wouldn't.
Yeah.
If the U.S. and if all of these government agencies actually admitted to everything they knew, I don't think most of us, like most of our population, could handle it.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. I think if you just do the frickin' research, but then that's just me. I'm a girl who will do her research usually.
You're also a Gen X.
Yeah.
Think of these new generations; they can't do that.
Hey, I can do that.
God.
They view research as ghost adventures. Woo!
Hey.
TV is their research.
Yeah, TikTok.
That is not true at all.
Oh, shut up.
I do plenty of research.
Via who and what company and what web company?
Well, my main one is the good old Wikipedia.
Yes, I was just going to say it goes to Wikipedia.
So the one that I can go on there and change.
I'd like to see you try.
Anybody can change that information.
Yeah, look tomorrow. The Pope's going to be Batman.
I'll look.
Okay.
No, literally, if you've got information on it, you can go in and actually make changes on Wikipedia's website. You go look it up.
Yeah, you can do it from your account.
Yeah,
Now,
but
it will
they
give
go
you-
through
okay,
all that
it
stuff.
will give you the
They sort it
basics.
out. It's a
It
big
will
company.
give-
They do that.
Wikipedia will give you the basis.
Yes, and then you
But
go through
one of the
Wikipedia and
things to learn
go
is
through
to
the
use
offshore
it as
sites.
a resource, as not a first and foremost research. It's
Yes.
only to be used as a beginning. Oh, I can look into this, this, and this because this was mentioned.
Yeah.
However, when you get out of that, do your extensive research through the history. There are numerous locations for history, and that is really, but to completely base everything off of Wikipedia, that's very dangerous.
Did you
Because-
just say offshore sites, John?
yes.
So what, are you like a gangster now? Like,
I
forget about it? Like,
No, it's just a term, okay?
no,
Yes.
it's
So,
offshoot too.
and
Whatever.
Google is not
Potato,
I-
potato.
recommend Google for researches, although it's the only thing I've got right now on my phone, which just sucks. But there are a number of websites that don't, because Google, one of the things that Google has gotten very, very, very well known for doing is controlling the information in such a way that they will not allow
That's why I use
many
Bing.
pieces. Yeah, many pieces of information, whereas you go to click on, and I'm just using this as an example because it's the first one that popped up in my head, Bing.
Yeah, that's
And
why you
I don't use Bing, but
I would.
there's a
Why?
number of companies out there that do not sequester their information.
Well, okay,
And-
but I will say on that, Nikki, Google doesn't. They can't get rid of the information.
They just
And
hide
they
it
don't. They bury it.
with all the other.
That's
Bury
why
it or they will block it.
every search you have has 90 to 10,000 pages. And those are all the O's in Google at the bottom.
Yep.
Friend, one of my favorite things to do is start searching different O's. Like, you don't start at page 1, because page 1 information, 90% of the time, is bullshit. Friend,
Yep.
start on page 96. Then go to page 152. Friend, just start going through.
Yep.
Friend, eventually you will find something that will lead you to an offshoot site that you can search through.
Or like you use the Yahoo. That's a pretty good website that I've used. You know?
Yeah, Yahoo's okay. I would not use Bing,
Or Opera.
because Bill Gates
I
owns
use
Bing.
Yahoo.
Opera GX works pretty
Exactly.
good. I use that for most of my stuff. It's a new web browser that's popped up. It's pretty good. I personally
I
use
missed
it.
the name of it.
What is
Opera.
it?
Opera.
It's
Opera
not new.
GX.
Oh, okay.
Pretty good.
Yeah, Opera was one of the first ones that came out for Windows before Google was a thing.
Yeah.
And it never got traction, but it's still there.
It's pretty good.
Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I deal with a couple of folks who are highly evolved in computers. Let's just put it that way. And when new ones come out, I usually get information on the websites or the web browsers, and usually check out some of the information, and it gets pretty interesting.
That does bring up one of my world scares right now.
What's that?
What?
So I'm not going to name names just because we have affiliation with them. But one of our local casinos near LaConner, Nikki,
Yes, I have heard about this.
yeah, they got hit with a cybersecurity attack. They're not the only one.
No, they're not.
There are 4 in Washington.
It hasn't it shut them all down, or has it just shut the down?
Temporarily closed until further notice.
Yeah.
And it's affecting people's jobs. It's affecting all kinds of things. But it's not just them. That's the thing. We just got a notice again from Peace Health, which is our healthcare provider. They got hit again, and all my information got leaked.
Yeah, everybody's getting their crap. I can't think. They're testing the waters.
Yeah.
They're doing more than testing the waters, but they're testing the waters in the United States.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now here's a United States scare. Think about how many major billionaires who own farmland in this country.
Yeah.
They're buying up massive farmland. They're removing the some of the farmers have been, they're gone. They're just gone. And the farms are either no more. And then there's farmland that is just being bought outright.
Yeah.
You're talking hundreds of thousands of acres.
Okay. People in other countries.
Yes, and you have U.S. citizens doing it who are multi-million and billionaires, and then you've got folks out of other countries who are doing it. And I'm not going to say what. There's one specific country, but I'm not going to say what country that is. So,
well, you know the most horrible part about that?
Those are some concerns. Those are some very valid concerns in the United States. And what about in Canada? What about in other countries of the world?
The most horrible part is the way they did it.
Yeah.
Wait, repeat that?
The most horrible part is the way they did that.
Oh, okay.
So, I can't speak for the United States on this because I don't know enough about it. But I know in Canada, I remember growing up as a kid, seeing these farmers that we were friends with. They were my dad's friends. And they started getting second jobs because they couldn't afford to farm.
Yep. That happened.
But they want to pass it down to their kids still. They still want to have the farm. They still want to do it all. But they can't afford it. So they went to the oil field. And now, most of these guys went straight to the oil field. They actually had to get rid of the farm because they still couldn't afford it.
Yeah, oil fields and fishing up in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those were the two main sectors where people were going to.
And
both hard work.
It was heartbreaking, honestly, to see a lot of them suffer through this because they would raise the price of a bushel at the market, but it never hit the farmer's pocket. It hit the government's.
Well, I can see that.
So, and then the price of pesticides and all those type of things, along with the idea that pesticides are not good for the environment and all the environmental impacts and all the things that they had to start paying for. And now with Canada has a full carbon tax. Both my parents are retired and they pay almost $400 a month or every 3 months. Imagine what a farmer pays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to feel bad about your carbon footprint.
Unbelievable.
So those are some serious world scares. And why are you continuing to tell me about Brazil? And I just heard earthquake.
Well,
okay.
Well, actually, I have a.
Maybe he's really into Carnival.
Have you guys heard of this show called, was it Alaska, Aliens in Alaska or Alaska Witness or something? I started watching it, binging it actually on Hulu. So I don't know if it's like on the History Channel. No, wait, it's on the Travel Channel. I'm wrong. But I think it's called like Aliens in Alaska or something like that. But they're saying that basically like obviously we all know that like it's the biggest area that people in the in the United States that people go missing. But it is actually the most spotted, especially around the Anchorage College area, around the university, where they see the most activity. So and it's interesting, just kind of like interesting how they say that the Earth, like talking about the fishing and everything, because all these people like mainly see it too when they're in the water, they're like fishing, doing normal things. Like one woman was like just training her dogs because she does the Iditarod, that kind of thing. So she was training her dogs. It's kind of interesting because it's like they're doing like just normal, Alaska things. They're trying to make their money, going about their day, that kind of thing. And then they're having these experiences. So, I mean, it just kind of seemed like it went along with the earthquakes. Nikki, you're funny. She always makes me laugh every time. But yeah, it's like it kind of seems like it goes along with like the natural, in a way, disasters that are kind of going on in daily life.
Yeah.
I mean,
now, there's been other shows like that about Alaska, so I've not seen that specific show. But there's been a number of shows with scientists trying to figure out where they've got a pilot, they've got a scientist, they've got a professional tracker, and they've got one other person in the science field, but they're also kind of like the paranormal field, and they all come together for the show. They try to figure out these missing people and why and how they've been missing under such unusual circumstances, whether it's paranormal or cryptid or a storm or some really strange anomalies that nobody in science have yet to be able to figure out, and they just go missing. And then you get them where they start going into serial killers up the I can't think of the name of the highway, but there's a specific highway in Alaska, and they've talked about that. They've talked about the big birds. I can't think of what they're called. The ones that appear to be pterodactyls, but they can't figure out where the heck they are, and they've actually lifted human beings off the ground, or they've taken animals, large animals, and you have witnesses to some of that. So it gets really interesting, these shows, and because these shows are all quote-unquote for entertainment purposes only, it at least talks about the subject matter and the story. Yeah. And if you want to go in and do more research, you can, because you've got the name of the person and you've got the storyline, and then you can do more research as to what really has taken place, and maybe the show only just touched on it.
Like a tip of the iceberg subject,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like Dilatov. And I always mispronounce this one, but Dilatov Pass. I
have not heard of that.
Yeah,
look into that one, hon, because it is really fascinating. It's a group
of... It was back in the 50s in Russia.
Yes.
And
it's a group of people who were not just mountain hiking. We're talking in snowpack mountains, high elevations, and for some reason the entire team was dead.
I think their tongues were ripped out or something.
And parts of them were naked, and parts of them were in one location and the other part was in another location, and they can't figure out. I mean, so they've tried scientifically, and there's a woman. If I could think of her name, I highly recommend her because she's done she's a Russian lady who has talked extensively to the old timers, what we in the Gen X community would call old timers, before they were in the process of dying, or about what they witnessed during this event, during the Russian authorities and officials who had come to who eventually came to investigate this. It's a fascinating story. So you do have situations, and thank you, Rick, because that was you're right, it was in the 1950s, on a Russian mountain. I don't remember the name of the mountain, but you've got, it's D-Y-L-A Tov, T-O-V, I think, Pass, P-A-S-S. And so do your research. There's a woman who's done extensive research, has a .com website, and gives a beautiful description of what happened to the people, of the official reports from Russia and from other countries, in all sorts of officials that were surrounding the event at the time that were willing to talk to her, and many of them are now dead. Old age and whatever else. And so it's a fascinating story. So you've got things like that in a lot of these entertainment shows, and yet do your research, because many of them are real stories. Do your research, look it up.
Yeah.
Okay, but so, Nikki,
yes,
with that, I really believe I should be a producer for one of these shows. Especially the Aliens in Alaska one. For one reason.
Why?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen Unearthed? It's not an alien show. On Earth. It's not a space show. It's not it's different things around the world, like different pyramids and the Leaning Tower of Pisa and stuff, and their history and how they were built and stuff. And they actually take them and they do 3D renderings of them, blowing them up to the point where every brick is pulled away, so you see the inside.
Cool. No, I've never seen this.
What I want to see is a reenactment of the moment the aliens get some of the animals on the ship. And there's particular few. I want to see the moose and that oh shit moment, and I want to see the honey badger, and I want to see the Fafo moment.
Is it called What on Earth? Question mark. What or
no,
on Earth?
Unearthed, like UNEARTHED.
Okay.
It's on Max and or Discovery, I think, or either Discovery or History.
Okay. Wow. I need to watch that. Yeah, that sounds cool. Okay.
It is,
okay.
Episode 1 that you get on Max is King Tut's tomb.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, and they rip the entire Earth apart, and it's very cool to see all the little caverns and everything. And then some of them they show like the obelisks and how they actually carved them. And they actually had modern day masons try and do it.
Oh, wow.
And they couldn't. But when they actually studied the ways that they did it back then, it was almost immediate. They got it immediately.
Well, it's like what happened in France. They found out that a lot of the masons that are now couldn't do the work to replace the cathedral that burned down, or mostly burned down, in France. And so, which of course I can't think of the name of it right now, but anyway.
Yeah, how the fuck am I drawing a blank on that?
Notre
Yes, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, thank you. And so, they finally found somebody who was old school who had been training. And if I remember right, they're out of France. They're somewhere out of France. And they literally brought them in to do the work because they were so old school that this guy in his business was training his lower downs as apprentices in his work. And he was taught by somebody who was, I mean, it goes back generation after generation. And they're the ones that were putting the cathedral back together again. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing that is so important in the trades. That's why the trades are so freaking important. You've got to have those kind of trades because they are important for our future. It may not seem like it right now, but they really freaking are. It's a handicraft and it's not just a handicraft, you know what I'm saying? It's like true, deeply embedded artisan work that is really important. And you look at something now, I hate the two lifetimes that I had as a Roman soldier. I absolutely despise those lifetimes. But one of the things that I deeply remember about those two lifetimes was how the Romans built with cement, and why to this day that cement is still functional.
Yeah.
It's still holding up after all these years. So these kind of, Nikki on her soapbox, I know, but this is a major deal. We're losing a lot of our tradesmen and our craft people, the ones that have the knowledge that can train the next many generations. It's really important. And
Well,
it's kind of like the way in science, too. There are many levels of sciences that have gone by the wayside. So, I mean, when you talk about a world scare or a global scare, look at that kind of stuff, because that also plays into our futures.
I started working for my dad when I was 6 years old, and just doing cleanup and stuff. I never touched any vehicles. But when I turned 10, he started training me on oil changes. I don't think I got to touch a power tool until I was 12. 2 years. I had, and I wasn't allowed to use the lifts. I wasn't allowed to use anything. Anything that had power connected to it. Friend, when I did an oil change, in order to get under the vehicle, I had to lift the vehicle with a jack.
Yep.
Because he wanted me to know every part.
That's
and
good.
we're losing that.
Yeah, we are. I've got a friend who's a third generation. Sorry, I was trying to think. Third generation mechanic, and he has a daughter, and I don't think his daughter's interested in mechanics.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like that knowledge, and I know he's going to be teaching her. She's young. I know that he's going to be teaching. He's already been teaching her different things on the mechanics side of it, but I don't psychically see her going into that field, and I'm like, I would hate to see his knowledge that he gleaned from his family go, because he's got such talent in mechanics, and it's like people don't have a realization. It's interesting how we are. I mean, to me, that's a world scare. I mean, we're losing a lot of, such as the farmers. The farmers, we're losing a lot of farmers. Now there's a lot of pop-up mini farms that are doing what the larger farms used to do. There's a few of them that I follow on Facebook and on YouTube, because they took to video and said, we're tired of getting the bad rap for this, and this regarding cows and cow care, and this is what takes place and this is why it's done. This is our mentality. This has been the generational thing. And I like how they go about doing that. And the new farms are like, we're doing this in a different way than a lot of the big farmers are. But this is what, and one of the family members has come from a generational farm. And so they're selling and doing meat differently via the FDA and going through all of that. But that's important because we don't want to lose our meat source. We don't want to lose those skills. I mean, we were talking about the lost farmers earlier. This is another prime example.
Yeah.
So those are world scares. And I mean, take a look at what happened in Europe not long ago, where the farmers were so pissed off that they literally started going to their capital of their country and dumping animal dung on the Capitol stairs and all the way around it, and they started blocking up things. So, blocking up travel is what I should say. So, anyway, and they got the point across, and things are changing back, but shifting in more positive direction. But look at how many thousands of farmers it took to get the job done, and look at what they had to do to get to that level.
Yeah.
How many more countries are going to go through that, and the country is going to go, we don't want this kind of uprising, and yeah, I guess we really need to make some changes. And that's what it's going to take across the globe, is to deal with all the different little changes into more positive changes, instead of staying stuck, or instead of dumbing down the society and the population. Those of us who are critical thinkers, we're tired of the way things are being handled, and we want to change, and we want a significant change, and that means action. And if you want certain things done, then get involved. Get involved in your local community. That's the way to do it. But yeah, those are very, very honest, very real world scares.
I think too, though, that we need to, as a people, as individuals, before you go out and try and get involved with your community, you need to actually take a long, hard look at yourself and say, do I belong there yet?
Exactly.
Because if you walk into that with any type of hatred towards any of the people involved, you're almost a detriment. Because that can tear apart a community.
Yeah, I agree, Cole. There's a lot of that going on, and people need to get their heads clear and straight about stuff, and their own traumas and their own triggers and their own crap that's going on in their life. Yeah, I fully agree with that. Like, and it's hard to do. But,
I will full out admit, I use humor to diffuse situations. Wherein, I really love the old saying, laughter is the best medicine.
It's true.
Always
has. It shifts frequency.
Yep. And like even on this show, I've done it. Where we can be in a fully heated debate, and so I will throw out something that is completely out of left field, and within 5 minutes, we're back to just talking.
Yep.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But, Fred,
that's funny.
If we could all actually take a look at ourselves and get rid of the hatred that we have for our fellow humans.
Well, and not only that, Cole, because that goes into a whole different, how you just phrased it, that goes into a whole different subject matter. If we can get rid of the hate as humans, not only will we be a better society in whatever country we're in, whatever locale we're in, globally it'll be better, and the ETs will be more willing to really present. And that's a big deal because we are not alone on this planet. And we've never been alone on this planet. And we've never been alone in our universe. So it's something that our planet, the population of our planet, needs to really really look at and really think about. Because if we are going to advance, we can advance all we want in a scientific factor. But when the rubber meets the road, it comes down to higher consciousness and to what we, in our brain, can achieve, what we can change. And change is willingness. Well, you have to start at willingness first and then move to taking the first foot forward. You got to take that first step. And that takes a while. So it's all part of our growth and how badly do we want to get there. No matter what any government across this planet seems to believe, how badly do we individually want to get there? Well, if we want to get there bad enough, are we going to take the action to do it? To follow through?
Yeah,
well, and like,
yeah, and it takes work, and people don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
Spiritual growth. I mean, every day, just changing your life, bettering yourself, no matter what like higher power you believe in or not one, you still have to do the work. So, number one thing my clients always say, I don't want to do the work. It's too hard. Well, you're not going to grow unless you do it. You want to sit in the same place your whole life? I don't.
Exactly. They stay stuck.
Yep.
Yeah, and they get mad and angry.
Yes. And it's always everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. When in actuality, if they would take the action to do the self-work, they would find that they would grow. And they would be better.
Even as, like, someone who is identifying this and seeing it, I still catch myself doing crap that isn't bettering myself or the world.
Yeah, we all do. I mean, at least you're catching yourself, though.
And I'm seeing it, like, that's the thing. It's mostly crap that I'm seeing on Facebook, but it's not Facebook's fault. It's my own, because I'm falling into it.
You're engaging in it, right?
Yeah.
That's what you mean. Yeah.
Like, one of my big world scares is electric vehicles. And I am falling for the hatred towards people who enjoy them. My fear is that it's a long con.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
And I did see a very interesting post, and this is what actually made me think of, like, that I started falling into this, was because my immediately reaction was to keyboard warrior my way through it, and I had to stop myself. But someone posted a thing that said, imagine you were in a world where the first vehicle to ever come out was an electric vehicle, and you have charging stations all over the world, and all of a sudden this inventor comes out and says, I have something new to show you. I have this engine that takes 15 to 20 seconds to fill up between drives. You only have to fill up every 400 miles. Friend, runs fairly clean when it comes to the long run. And when you have to replace something, nothing costs over $5,000 to replace. What would you say? Like, when you consider that an engine for Tesla is about 10 to 15 grand.
Yeah.
And that's what you paid for the vehicle. Like, what would you say to that? You no longer have to sit at a charging station for 3 hours to charge your vehicle. It'll actually run in the winter. The Switch is kind of scary to think about, but at the same time, it's also like, I feel like all we're seeing with electric vehicles is new and shiny.
Well, yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but here we had, well, it was about a few years ago, like, well, I mean, kind of farther, it's probably many years ago to think about it, since kind of like 2010, you know, the hybrid, like the first hybrid kind of thing, and all the celebrities catching on to it. What is the girl I'm thinking of? The Seinfeld girl, Elaine, how she really pushed for it and stuff like that. That seemed to get somehow my area really intrigued, and they put in Kroger's parking lot, which was really shocking, and then even next to our library, charging stations. So they took parking spaces that could have gone to somebody else who more than likely did not have one of those vehicles, and put these charging stations up. Then, you know, of course, nature happens in a way of the stupidity of nature. People hit them. So people were hitting them and taking them out. They couldn't repair them, and nobody was still really parking there. Because I think that people started really just parking there because they're like, this is a spot, and nobody ever uses it, so we're sick of it. And they started parking there and hitting it by accident. Now we notice that in our area now, like this library, they took it out, and it's not there anymore. And I think that Kroger just took the last one out. I think it's kind of interesting because my husband and I are always talking about how crazy it is that they even installed it, and now they've taken it out because it's not exactly practical right now.
Did you guys see the new thing on Temu?
No.
Right. They've made gas caps that have the charger plugs on the end of them, so it just looks like you have an electric vehicle. I'm not kidding. I really want to get one for my 93 Ford. I want to get one for the 93 Ford.
Wow.
Do you know how many people would be freaking out when they saw that?
I converted it, man.
Yeah.
Who are environmentalists?
Well, with what Rosella was saying about the cars, Seattle does that a lot. They'll do that with bike stations or electronic items throughout the Seattle region, and then 2 years later there's a complete different company out, whether it's bicycles or some sort of rideable vehicle, whether that is electronic or battery powered or what have you. So yeah, I completely understand that. Cole, when you were talking about the change regarding electric and gas and the first time and all of that, with those new inventions, it got me to thinking, I don't know how to say that, or say what I want to say, but the idea of such as creators of inventions, look at all the creators of inventions regarding things that could have been gigantic, such as the guy who invented the ability to use oil. We're talking like canola oil, used canola oil and all that kind of stuff in vehicles. Look at the guy who created water. Cars working on water. The guy died.
Yeah.
And he literally, as he and his, I think it was his brother or his son, were out to have a lunch meal or something, and he literally stands up, and as he's running out of the restaurant, he's grabbing for something on his face or his throat or something, and he's literally screaming, "They poisoned me. They poisoned me." And so, because he had manufacturers wanting to talk to him, government showing up, and this guy kicking it. I mean, right then and there. I can't even fathom. But so many, one of the things that I had two naturopathic doctors in the 90s and early 2000s, and they both talked about watch what happens to those who are on their way in the science community about to make a major breakthrough, and watch if they are not unalived. That's not how it was put, but that's how it has to be said now. And it's true, because there are numerous, I don't think I've still got them anymore, but there were numerous newspaper clippings I used to cut out of the Seattle Times and the Seattle PI about college students that were literally on the verge of major breakthroughs and how they mysteriously died, or some major car accident happened to them, and there are thousands. And that I just started watching since the early 90s. And I had one doctor in the 90s who was telling me, same naturopath, who was telling me, go back to the 80s, start looking through the Seattle PI or the Seattle Times, and you will find history where it literally talks about the journalist who was writing the article literally talks about how this person was the up-and-coming premier of whatever the subject was in their field, and they mysteriously died, or they were murdered on a jogging path or on some other form. And I'm just like, wow, that is some messed up stuff. And when you see so many things like that, you start wondering, how safe is it to be an inventor in this country?
Yeah.
How safe is it to bring out and to publicly talk about your invention? My grandfather, the day before he died, he had me come down into his workroom in the basement, and he showed me an invention he made, and he's like, I've known about this for, I think it was 20 to 40 years. It was in that time frame. And he goes, I've never talked about it. You're the only one who will ever see this. Do I still have that invention to this day? You better frickin' believe I do. And it takes up the size of my table, and I will never talk about with anyone unless I ever come across somebody in a specific science field, and then I may start asking questions of them, because they would know how. They would be in the exact prime location of knowledge, information for this. And he made some very valid points to me that day before he died, and it made a significant impression on me. Significant. And I was like, he's right. You know, I agreed with him, because he's right. If you have an invention, be really, really secretive about it. Be very, very careful, because not only are you looking at, you know, intellectual property theft, you're looking at the potential for intellectual property theft, and the possibility of the government or some scientific community coming out regarding it. And I look back at all those news articles I read and did paper, you know, doing the clippings, the paper cuttings of them to keep them, because I was so appalled by what I had read and what was made apparent to me. There was a gentleman back in the 90s who was very well-to-do in Seattle. Their father was, I can't say what he did or what he was, but back in the day, I mean, we're talking skyscraper stuff, okay, guys? And one of the things that I will never forget about him telling me about in the 90s, he and his wife, we saw them in a parking lot. Sorry, I was trying to remember how it exactly played out, but basically we were in a parking lot. They were in the process of leaving, and we were in the process of coming in, and they told us, and I say they because he was with somebody else, but they told us about information that he had just found out from his father, who had contacts to know in not only in corporate America, but in medical, pharmaceutical. And back then, his father had just been given information about knowing about the big C word and how they actually found a cure for it, for many different levels of it. And he said, my dad says it that, well, he didn't say my dad. He didn't call him my dad. He always called him my father. But he said my father has said that they will never release it. And I remember standing there. My jaw was on the cement. I was like, they'll never because, hello, I was a newbie. I was just really starting to research all this information. And this was before I realized just how severe corporate America was really corrupt. Just how severe that went, and how deep, I should say, it went. And it was an amazing piece of information. And it's something I will never forget, because I'm standing there looking at him and he said a bunch of things after that about the medical community, corporate America, pharmaceutical companies, and just information that his dad just basically started spouting to him about info. And I was just like, whoa. I was so mind-bent that by the time we got done with our shopping, we were not at a grocery store, we were someplace else. But when we got done with our shopping, I got out to the car and I literally sat there. I managed to get the seatbelt on, and I was in such shock by what I was just told that I remember being like I was numb. I was like somebody hit me over the head with a brick, and I was just utterly numb. And then the tears started, and it was because I had a viewpoint of how America should be.
Yeah.
And that viewpoint was utterly shattered. And I knew that this guy had the knowledge, and his father was in the position with his contacts to have that kind of knowledge. And I've made it a point to remove his name from all of my pages, because I don't want his name ever released, or anybody to go after him and his family, because I was just so blown away by that when I started making major realizations after my back injury, because I was home more, I was able to do that kind of research, and I went through a lot of my belongings, and I made sure that his name has been scratched out, that you cannot read it. It's not there anymore. Because those kind of people, they need to be protected.
Yep.
Hardcore. So that's Nikki's little spiel on corporate America and the pharmaceutical companies.
You said something that made me laugh a little bit with your dad and his father.
Yeah.
So I have noticed it's been happening for a while, but I've noticed the pattern now. When my kids want something, I'm dad. If they just want to annoy me, I am father, padre, or any other frickin' name they can come up with.
Yes, Papa.
But yeah, that's how I know if they want something. If they want something, I'm dad.
There's also Creator, Papa, the one who gave part in birthing.
Our Heavenly Father.
Yeah, that too.
Hey, I may not be him, but I'm Canadian, and that's close enough. Because that's as close as I'm ever getting.
The Free Chariot.
Free Chariot.
There's quite a little bit.
I can relate to this. I've got other friends whose families are like that, and the kids are like that. And it's like, you never want anything unless you you start calling me this.
Yeah.
And I know I'm like, what the hell do you want?
Well, like with what you just said, John.
Yes.
Friend, the free chariot thing.
Yeah.
Just remember how chariots used to work. You rode behind it. I can get a rope real easily.
Wow. I'm like, what the?
Wow.
Maybe I wasn't going a good place.
We'll get you some freaking rollerblades.
No.
Actually, that might be fun. Just no sharp corners.
Well, there's a place in
What happens,
what
happens.
is it? Switzerland or Sweden where they were using dogs, 2 and 3 dogs for doing that very thing. With you called them chariots. I don't know what else to call them.
Sled dogs?
But no, they're not sled dogs. The vehicle is on 2 wheels and a third wheel in front, and then the dogs are hooked on, and they're big dogs. They're,
A buggy.
They're big dogs. Yeah, a little buggy, and they're not high up. They're real short to the ground. Huge, gigantic wheels on the side, and can carry 2 people. And I'm like, oh my God, you've got 6, 7, 8 people on these little carriers, and the dogs they're using them like horses. And I'm like, yeah, I've got words to say about that. But yeah, it's amazing to me what people. I used to know people that did that with goats. And I'm like, you're gonna get a goat to do that? Are you kidding? I couldn't. Sorry, I had a lot of things to say over that one. But I was like, wait a minute. The dogs are, and they were happy, healthy dogs. I mean, right after, I'm just looking at this video going, wow, this is a mind bender.
With the goats,
And it's a
you'd be
different
fine,
country.
as long as there's no tin cans on the side of the road.
Yeah. Or boots.
Squirrel!
Yeah, that would be the worry with the dog.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Hyperspeed.
Off the road and down to the right, down the ditch. Off we go. Ba-dum.
All of a sudden, you're jumping fences.
In a little buggy. Yeah, that's fun. Oh my God. Anyway.
Well, what's the topic next week?
Yeah, we've been an interesting source of conversation tonight.
Yeah, we really have. I'm like, good transition time.
Thinking next week, maybe going back to the roots a little bit. But I think I want to be a little specific.
How specific?
Okay. What does that mean?
Medieval European ghosts and hauntings.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
And why they are so prevalent in that area.
We talk about King Henry VI.
You have like a lot of examples to talk about?
Well, yeah, I got quite a few. Like there's a lot of hauntings in those areas. Like, just think of the British Isles.
And there's
by themselves, like the islands, Ireland, Scotland, and Britain. You look at those 3 areas, and how many castles and how many areas, roads,
especially around the royal family.
and then you look at the history of that area. And okay, yeah, it's old, but it's not old. Like, we should be hearing a lot more stories out of Egypt and places like that.
Yeah, but all the dead are just in giant pyramids, so we can't.
Yeah, we locked them up so good they can't get out.
Yeah.
Mostly you hear a lot of tales about Ireland and Scotland. I know that.
Yeah.
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 And there's a lot of tales around the royal family that I know of, especially around King Henry VI.
I don't know if we should talk about that.
Still, the royal family has a lot of spiritual things around them throughout the ages.
Okay, just the
I'm
spiritual
actually
stuff.
related to. I'm literally a descendant from Henry VIII. I was related to Catherine Parr. So I definitely agree. I think it all comes from that side.
So yeah, you're related to what's her name? Who's our
Catherine
future
Parr.
queen? Who's our future queen?
Who's our future-
Talking Kate.
William.
Kate?
Yeah, Kate. That's how she's royalty.
Oh,
She is a descendant of Henry VIII.
Yes, she is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She's also dead. They've been hiding it from us.
wait,
So-
wasn't King Henry VIII the guy with 6 wives?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Divorce,
Catherine
beheaded,
Parr
died.
was the last
Divorce,
wife,
beheaded,
and she's the
died.
one who outlived him because he locked her into a tower.
Yeah.
And he was trying to divorce her to marry what would have been the 7th wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposedly there's rumors that she was the 7th wife, because he did have a 20-year gap in between marrying her and the previous one.
I'll have to look that up. Okay, because it's been a long time.
Yeah. It's a
since
pretty
I
good
looked
theory.
up. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Well, he went through them like, water.
Yeah. And it's
My
actually
friend-
surprising how heavy he was.
Yes.
Understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but back then it was a sign of wealth and
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just didn't think people back then got that big. That's something you don't
Oh,
really see
honey.
that often.
Yeah. They did.
Yeah, that fun nature thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Most everybody else was a farmer or, were in agriculture for working all the time.
They're all
Well,
skinny
if
and
they were
They were the
starving.
ones that could afford to get fat off the land, so to speak. So,
Yeah,
If
because they sat.
if they were in royal society at all, or any part of society, they were on the spelt to
They had to be big.
medium obesity. I don't know how else to say that. So they were large, even the women, because everything was done for them. Everything. So from having their derrieres wiped to putting clothing on to bathing. I mean, every aspect of life was done
Yeah.
for them. So you're dealing with a completely different caliber of society.
Yeah.
And then you had those, like Rick had talked about, in farming society, and it goes on from there. So it just completely depended on what part of society they were in.
And if you look back in the history of how they actually took care of their castles, it was pretty. It's pretty disgusting how they left them most of the time.
Or the
Yes,
back.
actually, that's true.
After
Well,
parties and all that.
yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they didn't have bathrooms. So
No, they
were
had
just,
Yep.
toilet closets.
Yeah. That just went down the
well,
side of the building.
I watched this one documentary. I forget what it's called, but it's like oh gosh, it's all about the royals, and they kind of lay into the specific person in a way of their character and who they are and the history. And one of the castles that basically they would just basically say that they would just go out into a hallway anywhere and just
Yep.
go to the bathroom
And just relieve themselves.
Yep. And then, the servants were supposed to pick it up. So
Yep.
it smelled all the time, and for years it smelled, even when
Yeah.
bathrooms got, installed. It was really eye-opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had chamber pots
And
and chambermaids deal with the chamber pots, and then they had so bathroom issues were a rather big deal in the day, and
they used to.
in some castles they didn't have that. If they weren't like the bathroom in the hallway, they had built a toilet closet, and it would be 4 or 5 stories high, and it literally, it's a pillar of shit, not a joke.
Yeah.
Ew.
And they would have that in a closet, and you'd sit down, you do your business, you'd get up, and you'd go through the door, close the door, and I can't even imagine the smell. It just had to have been horrific.
And they used to say that most royals were actually dirtier than most peasants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty.
Because of the makeup, they were all covered in white powder.
Yeah.
And many of them bathed every few months.
It was like where
years.
Napoleon lived. I think it was the one on Napoleon that I was watching or something like that.
Like,
But,
I believe...
Crazy.
Just gonna say, in Colombia, the royalty, the white powder wasn't makeup.
Yeah, that's a different ballgame altogether. Yeah, that actually is a fascinating conversation in what those parts of society used on their bodies and how toxic it was.
Because I know Queen Elizabeth the First, had layers of makeup on her skin, throughout her whole entire life. And only bathed twice.
So that's where we are going to start, I think. Because I want to know if that is part of the reason that area is so prevalent. Because one of the main things that people talk about with those hauntings is smells.
Oh.
Oh, because they're so noticeable because of the smell.
Yes.
That
Well, I think it's where Kim Kardashian got married. I mean, they were saying that still smells. From all of that. Yeah, in the halls.
Back then.
From Kim?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
I mean, just imagine, cat pee stinks forever, and you can really never get it out. So, humans, it's like, ooh, wow. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forever.
So, yeah, that would be interesting.
It forever lingers.
So, yeah.
Oh, darn it. Just remembered, I won't be on next week. Darn it.
What the hell?
Dang.
Because I'm going to Gettysburg, actually. I'm going to
Gettysburg.
Gettysburg.
Rock on.
Oh, dope. Have fun.
So, yeah, we're doing a whole paranormal fun trip, and I mean, it's packed to the nines, but we're going to be going to the battlefield and at night. So just
yeah, Gettysburg is sort of my. I read up on I got a Civil War phase about 10 or so years ago, 15 or so years ago, I guess now. But yes, Gettysburg has always fascinated me, that whole battle, and it was around the 4th of July. And coincided the same day that the Union got control of the Mississippi River. So, but the human toll in Gettysburg, the amount of people that died, the soldiers, and then people in the town that got caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, it's insane. So, yeah, we're going to be going, my podcast, Haunting Good Time Radio Show, we're going to be going live on that, me and my friend Misty. And then I'm going to be doing a lot of blog writing about it as well. So it'll be fun.
So you know what? We're going to do Western European spirits next week. The week after, Rosella, if you are able to be on, we are going to hit American hauntings. And the colonies.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah.
I can talk about the rake.
That's our next 2 weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for tonight. And thank you very much for listening.
Yep.
We will be back with you next Wednesday at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Friend, don't look at the sun this week. There won't be anything up there other than really blinding shit. So, friend,
or clouds.
just let it go, people. Friend. All right.
Hysteria.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Thank you, everyone on the panel. And we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Data transfer complete. System malfunction. Please evacuate immediately. Program terminated.
Son of a biscuit eater.